Hey there, and welcome to the channel. This is the Armed Forces Cycling Classic Crystal City Cup, the Cat 3-4 field, and this is one of the races that I've been looking forward to for a while. So, if you've seen my last video, I did Pickle Juice, the Cat 4 race, got 10th place, and in this race I kind of just wanted to see if I could hang with the Cat 3 guys. I figured that it was going to be a fast race. I was told that the first 5 minutes or so were going to be kind of a war of attrition, seeing who was going to last, and then if you could last the first 5-10 minutes, then you'd be okay. So, if I could sum up this race in one word, it would be chaos. It was a lot of moving around, a lot of crashes, actually, and just a lot of lines not being held, a lot of people yelling at each other to hold their lines, and pretty much no team tactics here, really. So yeah, let's get into it. So this is the first lap. We did a neutral lap before this with the car, the lap counting car. So I was lined up really well at first, and then we did a neutral lap, and then we rolled back up to the line, and I was still lined up pretty well, but not as good as I was before. So now I'm like mid-pack. This field is huge, by the way. So this field is 120 riders. Over 120 riders, which for a crit is massive. This is huge. So it was really beneficial to get towards the front, and especially with crashes, you'll notice that when you watch this video, you only see the one crash in front of me, which was at the very beginning of this video, and there were more crashes that happened to be right behind me, so I was fortunate enough to avoid those by being closer to the front, which saved me so much, and I am so lucky that I did not get caught in any of those crashes. So right off the bat, these first couple laps were really fast, as I was kind of expecting, and especially this part here. So the start finish rate was definitely the fastest part of the course. This is also the flattest part. So the most dangerous turn of the course, and where all the crashes happened, was this first right-hander. So you go from this really wide street to a pretty narrow street that also has a lot of manhole covers on the inside, and the pavement's also pretty bad. So right there we get bunched up, and people are kind of yelling at each other right there to hold their line, and that was where all the crashes happened. So like you saw in the very beginning of this video, you saw the guy go over his handlebars there with that sandbag that was covering a drain, which was supposed to protect riders from hitting the drain, but also ended up becoming a hazard in and of itself. So that was definitely where a few people crashed. And other than that, this course, for me, I felt pretty confident. There were a lot of manhole covers on this course, and the pavement was not as great as the Pickle Juice race that I did. That one was really smooth for the most part. So back here, you'll see a few manhole covers here that are actually pretty deep, and I was able to roll through them without much difficulty. I would hit them and not really be too fazed by it, but I know that a lot of riders were trying to dodge them, which caused a lot of problems with the group riding, and they kind of deviated from their lines to try to avoid it. And this part here, which is a downhill, was really fast leading into the start-finish straight, and this turn here is a really nice sweeping right-hander, which you can really kind of lean over. You have a lot of room to move around, and then you just hammer it on the start-finish straight, which also has manhole covers. So there were a lot of manhole covers in this race, but this part was probably my favorite. And like I said in my last video with Pickle Juice, my 3 main goals of crit racing so far is to, number 1, not crash, number 2 is to finish, and number 3 is to finish mid-pack or better. And that was definitely my goal for today. I know that I got a top 10 in Pickle Juice, but I also realized that that was just a Cat 4, and that I'd be mixing it in with the Cat 3 guys in this race. So, skipping forward a little bit, here we're on lap 4, and right now it's kind of packed up again. It's kind of bunched up again. You can see there's pretty single file off the front. It was pretty fast through here. So a lot of guys jostling around here and trying to get good position for this right turn. I was pretty much always on the outside on this turn, which you'll see coming up in this video. ended up being maybe not the best choice, but it's where I felt the most confident, and it's where there were actually the least amount of manholes, because on the inside of that turn there was one that's right at the apex, and I was just worried about hitting that and sliding out. So I just wanted to make sure that I was at least on the pavement taking that turn. But back here was more or less kind of a rest part. So already we have a rider off the front, or two riders off the front. And right now the group's slowed down. We're doing 23, 22, and we're just kind of looking around at each other, deciding like if anybody's going to attack. And right here is a big mistake on my part. I don't know why I keep trying to go off the front of races. I think I feel like I have to prove myself. So I try to bridge this gap to these two riders off the front and try to look all cool. And quickly realize, probably around now, that I'm not going to catch them. And I'm burning a lot of matches to try to do this. And I'm only on lap 5. So this is a terrible idea. And this is not a tactic I would recommend for anybody else to try. But if you're feeling ballsy, if you feel like you can bridge a gap, go for it. But I am not that rider. So I kind of sit up here and just wait for the group to catch me, and we'll regroup and find a wheel to draft off of and not spend unnecessary energy. My girlfriend's team Meta, they were watching us race, and one of them at that start-finish straight just back there yelled at me to get off the front, which is very smart. Oh, yeah. So that's what I was talking about when I said that I probably should not be taking these turns wide, at least that turn right there. I tried to hang on with the guys that were attacking through the start-finish straight and just got a little sketched out. I was carrying a lot of speed through there. I was going 30 miles an hour, and I went wide, and I rubbed my rims on the curb, and I thought at that moment, for sure, I thought, oh, this is it. I'm going to crash, and my race is over. But I managed to keep it up. I managed to stay rubber side down, which is a win for me in and of itself. I mean, that's definitely a win for me. So, no crashes. Got a little close there. My heart rate definitely jumped. But we're going to skip forward a little bit more to lap 8. There were a couple highlights of this race. I will be skipping forward quite a bit. But honestly, there wasn't a whole lot going on. Most of the crashes and most of the big events were behind me, but I don't have a rear camera, so you can't see that. So for this front group here, it was, for the most part, pretty smooth. These riders all know how to ride in a pack, and they know how to hold their lines, at least most of them. There was definitely some expletives and some yelling for people not holding their lines through the turns. But for the most part, this pack was really smooth. The only thing was there wasn't really a tactic. There wasn't really any team up here trying to work together to send a break off the front, set the tempo. It was kind of just jostling around, really, with no one kind of in the front. So right now we're just kind of following. I'm surfing wheels the best I can, trying to save energy, and taking the turns as best I can, and trying not to get nudged off. There were plenty of times in this race where I got cut off, where I was kind of rubbing shoulders with people, and it was sketchy, but I was confident enough in my handling skills to be able to cope with it. But this is only my second race, so this is my second crit of the season and of my entire career. So going into this, like I said before, I just wanted to hang. Honestly, I just wanted to find wheels over the Cat 3 guys and hang in for as long as I could and see what I could do. So I was fortunate enough to be with these wheels here at the front group. There are a lot of really good riders up here, and yeah, I just wanted to see how far I could go. So I'm riding the same bike that I rode at Pickle Juice. I'm riding my red. It's actually an Olay. It's an old S-Works Olay. Thought it was a tarmac. But I'm riding that again with mechanical group set and some deep roval wheels, which are pretty nice, and they get the job done. They're pretty fast, actually. So Didn't want to crash the new bike. I'm still a little hesitant to race that one. It's a new LA Sprint disc, and it's still really nice. It's brand new, so I don't want to crash it and scratch it yet. But so yeah, I use my older bike for this one. And another cool thing, before this race, I did some warm-up laps, and obviously this race is a big deal for not obviously this area, but also for the calendar, for the race calendar. So actually, before I go into that, so the guys that just moved up to the left in the white jerseys, this is the crash. So they move up and they go wide, and that guy hits that barrier and just goes right over his handlebars. And the guy right to my left, that was on my hip, got caught right behind him. And I remember being wide-eyed at this point. Like, my pupils were probably super dilated. I was terrified. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe that. I just dodged that bullet. But I honestly, I've been knocking on wood all day, and I can't believe how lucky I got with this race, with these crashes, because the team meta that I've been kind of riding with or training with, they had 7 or 8 guys in this race. So I was fully expecting the meta train to just control it, but they honestly, half of them got caught behind crashes. And my friend Frank, who was in the Pickle Juice race with me on the Purple Cannondale, which is sadly no longer in service, he was avoiding a crash behind me, and someone ran into him and broke his seat stem, which really sucks. I mean, fortunately, it's not a very expensive bike, but it still sucks, and he was pissed for sure. So we've skipped forward now. We're on lap 18, and right in front of me, this is Rudy, I believe, in the Meta Kid. Took this turn on the inside for one of the only times in this race. I barely took that turn on the inside. And so the pavement on this uphill part was actually the worst. It was really, really rough. You could see a lot of like kind of ad hoc patching of the pavement, which made it even worse, honestly. But I actually found it nice to gain spots on that part. I'm pretty decent with like climbing up hills, and I can accelerate on the turns pretty well. So I found that pretty easy to just like get in the drops and just kind of put my head down and gain some spots there. And which kind of was a fruitless effort, because at this point here on the back half of this course, we kind of just bunched up together again. But it was still nice to get a better spot going for that right-hand turn. But what I was going to say earlier, that was before this race, I was doing warm-up laps, and I actually ran into Justin Williams. So this race is the first race of the Pro Road Tour, and the first of the big crit series for the pro guys. And I was doing a warm-up lap, and I see the Stars and Stripes, and I see his bike, and I'm like, oh my god, it's Justin Williams. And I rolled a warm-up lap with him. It was really cool. We just shot the shit. He complimented my bike. So if Justin ever sees this video, thanks again, man. That was really cool to chat with you. And thanks for the compliment for the bike. I appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys race tomorrow in the Clarendon Cup. But so back to the race. So we are on lap 18, and the race was actually 22 laps. The reason why it says 23 is because I kept my watch or my computer going for my cooldown lap. So we actually we do a total of 22 laps. So we have about 4 laps to go. And so, like I had said before, so a lot of the meta guys have got caught behind crashes. There were a bunch of crashes that I heard right behind me. So this front pack this is pretty much it. And there were a couple attempts at breakaways, but none of them stuck. There were a couple guys who tried to go off the front, but they didn't make it very far. The group usually caught them. And there were a lot of times here where I was kind of sitting in the middle of the pack, and I'd see people move up on the left and the right. And I'd get a little worried about a breakaway attempt. And at this point in the race, I was feeling pretty good. My heart rate's 169, 170, which is, at this stage in the race, is pretty solid. I mean, it's pretty high for me, but not terrible. And I was feeling pretty good. I was also pretty well hydrated. I had a lot of water with me, although this day was really hot as well. Similar to Pickle Juice, this was also almost 90 degrees and humid and sunny. So once again, I choose one of the hottest days of the year to race, but overall I'm feeling pretty good, and I'm realizing now that we only have a few laps left of this race, and I'm with the front group. I mean, this is great. I mean, this is much better than I thought I would be. Gets a little dicey right there. I hit the little feet of the barrier there, which was so sketchy. I definitely was on the limit of taking turns on the outside on this race, for sure. But so yeah, I'm just surfing this guy's wheel and just hanging in there. And right now, I think they're like quite. All right, yeah. So there's the group off the front, and they're decently far, but not very. So now we're moving up. We're hauling ass. Actually, this is 33 miles an hour. And fortunately, I'm able to like get on my own here. There's nobody on my inside or outside, so I'm able to take that turn really. I actually take that turn really well. That was probably the best time I've taken that turn. And I dropped my chain though. Like something happened with my chain where it kind of skipped or something. And so I like lost a pedal stroke, and I had to kind of make it up. And that guy in the white there just passed me on the right, so I lost a little bit of time and had to burn an extra match that I wasn't expecting to spend. But then we kind of group up back here again. This part was always kind of the chill spot, and this is where people kind of were feeling out if people were going to attack, if anyone was going to try to do anything sneaky. But District Taco, so this guy obviously is on District Taco. They were pretty well represented in this race. They were, I think they had like 8 riders in this race. So, and they pretty much all lined up in the front. So, I mean, kudos to them for doing that. But they were definitely well represented. A lot of the other hitters were here. Kelly, obviously DC Velo, NCDC, all the local guys. Yeah, I took that inside turn pretty well. And once again, I'm on Evo, and I'm also by myself in this race. So I'm on Evo Lindsay cars, and I don't have teammates. Meta's kind of a group that I've been working with. Not on the team, but I kind of use their wheels to benefit from that. So, and Sean, my other friend who's on NCDC, who's also in Pickle Juice, he started this race, but his headset for his new fork was still a little stiff, so he had to bail, unfortunately. But I'm by myself, so my strategy here is to just surf wheels and save as much energy as possible. That was the key, especially on a hot day like today. It was super important that I save energy, stay well hydrated, and try to stick with any breaks that try to happen. So right now we're pushing it. I mean, we're doing 30 up on this uphill, which is pretty fast. DC Velo guy right there kind of dropping off. And there's a DC Devo team, so the DC Devo team's the development team of DC Velo. And there were a couple DC Devo guys in this race. They're juniors, and they're very good. They're very fast. So I was pretty impressed to see them out there crushing it. So this part's important here. So this guy breaks off to the left, and I realize that these guys on the right are continuing to move up. And at this point, I'm like, okay, I need to move up with these guys because there's not much race left. And we're moving here. So this is the front of the race, and this is pretty much the group that stays away. That guy kind of drops off there. I lose a little bit of space here to this guy's wheel, but I'm pretty confident in this right-hand turn. And this part here is important. So this guy comes on the inside, and spoiler alert, he ends up winning the race. And he'd already called inside, so I let him go. But here I'm dumping the watts. So the Kelly guy, that guy's gone. He had a nice lead out into that sprint, and I'm just going. I pass that guy in the red, and I get 6th. I mean, that was way better than I thought it was going to go, to be honest. That went so well. And yeah. So I was coming through the start-finish straight, and I realized that I was going to actually start passing people, and I just went for it. I was like, all right, yeah, I might as well just keep going. Can't stop now. But yeah, that was a great race. I got 6th. I got upgrade points. I got a $40 check because they paid 8 positions deep, and felt phenomenal. And yeah, I couldn't have asked for much more. Honestly, it didn't crash. Finished top 10. Finished 6th. So. Yeah, these are some of my teammates from Evo. They were doing the challenge ride earlier before this race, which is a longer distance kind of endurance event. and they stuck around to watch the race, and they were cheering me on. So it was a blast.
So much chaos.
Very chaotic,
So many
but
crashes,
I love this atmosphere. The Armed Forces Cycling Classics is my favorite event. I love the fact that it's here in Arlington. It's super close. And the Clarendon Cup, which is tomorrow on Sunday the 6th, is even more electric than this. It's downtown Clarendon, which is a city center with a bunch of bars, restaurants. The crit course itself is really tight, and it's really, really great to watch. So the pros will be racing there, the guys and the girls. Legion will be there. The Legion women got 1 and 3 in this race today, and the men got, I think, 4th and 5th. So Sam Boardman, who's a local, a DC local, he got 5th. So yeah, but thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe if you want to see more of these videos, if you want to see my future races, and I'll see you at the next one.
Yeah. What's up? No,